Oh. Satchidanandarupaya Vishwotpattyadihetave Tapatraya Vinashaya Shri Krishnaya Vayam Numaha. Janmadhyasya yatonvayaditaratascharteshvabhignaswarat Tene brahmahridaya adikavaye muhyanti yatsuryaha Tejo vari mridam yatha vinimayo yatra trisargo mrisha Dhamna svena sadani rastakuhakam satyam param dhimahi Dharma projita kaitavotra paramo nirmatsaranam satam Vedyam vastavamatra vastu shivadam tapatrayon mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamunikrite Kim va parerishvaraha Sadyo hridyavarudhyate trakritibihi Shushrushubistatkshanat. Hari Om. Greetings from Niagara Falls, and a special welcome to all who are joining us from Chinmaya Mission Cleveland for your first formal class ever at our own ashram. For those who can see Chinmaya Mission Cleveland, this is the area we're going to develop. I think they're sitting in the dining room right now, and eventually we'll move our assembly to the upper floor. Bhagavan Krishna shares with Rishi Uddhava as he's completing Uddhava Gita. I'm going to read two portions in English. Even a person who reflects on the questions put by you and to which I have given answers will attain to that imperishable Brahman whose truth is revealed by the Veda. To that pious person who fully expounds this teaching on Brahman among my devotees, to him I gift my own self out of love for him. Every one of us, as a listener, as a sharer, is most bhagya. Who's authorizing this? Bhagavan Krishna. That we will feel Bhagavan Krishna. Bhagavan Krishna is giving himself to us. In our Upanishad, there is a lovely teaching. Yavat jivam trayo vandyaha. Yavat means as long as, jivam, you are alive. Trayo means three, vandyaha, to revere. As long as you are alive, you are to revere these three, Vedanto, Gurur, Ishvara. One is to revere Vedanta. In this case, Bhagavata, the authority that guides us to feeling Bhagavan Krishna divinity. Guru, the one who makes this real, the one we can relate to. And Ishvara, who connects all the dots. We get to be born as humans. We find our Guru. We have this desire to become more pure. And what Pujya Swami Tejomayananda shared, one is to revere these three before they're enlightened. After you're enlightened, you're to revere these three more. because then you very much feel how important, how critical these three are. In our final chapters on Bhagavan Krishna's life, in our final classes on Vedanta and Bhagavata, feel how fortunate you are to be in the trust triangle. I can't get that image out of my head of Vivek being this airplane that is stuck in turbulence, and I just want to land. I just want to rest. And then this military jet comes and escorts me to my landing base, to my home. The 11th section of Srimad Bhagavatam has the theme of mukti. Mukti in English means freedom. And one of the best teachings, the best orientations on what mukti is, came in the second section. Please try to note this. It is 2.10.6. Whenever you practice contemplation, try to include this in your contemplation. Muktir hitvanyatha rupam swarupena vyavastitihi. Muktihi is hitva, which means to renounce or let go of. Anyatha, the other. Rupam, identification. To drop what you are not is the first facet of being free. Swarupena, your natural being presence. Vyavastitihi, to feel that, to be established in that. This section of Srimad Bhagavatam, like our Upanishad course and so on, is teaching us this is what you're not, so that you know what you are. Uddhava Gita is the main teaching in this 11th section. Uddhava Gita began in the 7th chapter, and it's completed in the 29th chapter. I'm reviewing this right now. Bhagavan Krishna began Uddhava Gita sharing that you being born as a human is surreal. If you think of all of the beings in this multiverse, to be born as a human is surreal. Then to evolve to being a seeker, that's even more surreal. To pursue the more to life than meets the eye. What's more surreal than this is for a seeker to then follow Bhagavata Dharma. Bhagavata Dharma, in a most relatable, simplistic way, is when you dedicate your thoughts, words, and actions to Bhagavan. These are our instruments, our trikarana. We do with these three, thoughts, words, and actions, to dedicate this to Bhagavan. And anyone who does do that is no longer a seeker, they are a bhakta. More evolved than a seeker is to be a bhakta. So human, seeker, bhakta. This was very clear in an earlier chapter on Kriya Yoga. Kriya Yoga was where we were taught how to facilitate puja. But a puja is not in a controlled environment, unlike how most of us practice. It is to be in an uncontrolled environment. And if I can give you a visualization, it is to use your feet to reach his feet. That's what Bhagavata Dharma is. You're using your own feet to reach his feet. How? Thinking about him, speaking about him, acting like him. The fulfillment of Bhagavata Dharma, which makes one a bhakta, is to become Bhagavan. Yesterday in our Installing Balance course, someone had asked, what is the purpose of our life? And I didn't say this in the Installing Balance course, but this is our purpose, to become Bhagwan. And I had highlighted this last week, that Uddhava Gita teaches Advaita. What is the English word for Advaita? Oneness. That there's no Bhakta and Bhagwan. There is Bhagwan alone. In this 29th chapter, Bhagwan shares the one who reaches this end is a Manisha. We know so many people who are named Manisha, Manish, but this is what it fully means, to use your mind. Is one who is Buddhiman. Not one who has a high IQ, but someone who's using their intellect to become Bhagwan. Rishi Uddhava, from chapters 7 to 29, keeps asking Bhagwan Krishna questions. Question about this, question about that. Rishi Uddhava has engaged in upasana of Bhagwan his whole life. He knows the answers to all of this. So then why is he asking all of these questions? He just wants to be with Bhagwan. He sensed that Bhagwan is leaving. So the more he asks, the more that Bhagwan will stay. It's like the Marvel movies, how they put trailers in the credits, correct? Then you have to keep staying in that theater. So they copied that from Bhagavata also. At one point, Bhagwan Krishna asks Rishi Uddhava, I'll read it to you in English again. O Uddhava, my dear friend, have you fully grasped the supreme truth I have explained to you? Is your mind free from grief and delusion? And Rishi Uddhava, through his tears, they're mostly tears of joy, because Bhagwan Krishna is established in his heart now, is. They're mostly tears of joy, but some sadness, because now he has no more questions to ask. That means Bhagwan will leave. Pujya Swami Tejomayananda has shared, bhakti makes jnana sweet. For those who only engage in jnana without bhakti, sometimes that jnana makes us bitter. And jnana makes bhakti deep. Until this community, I felt most people's bhakti was ritualistic, doing without meaning. So bhakti supports jnana, jnana supports bhakti. Bhagwan Krishna is the best of bhakti and jnana. And this will come out so strongly as I'm about to begin this chapter. How is Bhagwan Krishna the best in bhakti? In his love. He loved and loved and is loving. And jnana, now that will come out. Through all of this love, he was independent. He never mixed interdependence with dependence. And I've shared that many times in Meaningful Mornings and parenting culture, that those who are caregivers have to be objective. Even if that means the person you're caring for struggles, but you're doing this because you love them, you not being objective, you sheltering them, that's where one has lost this interdependence and it's devolved to dependence. Jnana is gone then. Bhagwan Krishna is the best of both. One more insight from Pujya Swami Tejomayananda to prepare us for this final chapter. This was posted on social media also. Even if he does not teach others or recite to others, yet keep studying this knowledge, he does not even need to light a lamp for worship, much less do any other spiritual practice. The study of this scripture known as Bhagavata, which is the lamp of knowledge, is itself my worship. For 155 hours now, we have been offering Bhagavan Krishna a lamp, but not a physical lamp, a metaphysical lamp. And Bhagavan has shared, I see you, so you are coming with me. As I read this final chapter relating to Bhagavan Krishna's life, I'm going to read this entire chapter in English, the entire chapter. Relax your bodies. Enjoy your breath and quieten your minds. You can keep your eyes closed or open. You can write notes or listen. Skanda 11, Adhyaya 30. The Raja said, after Uddhava had left Dwaraka, what did the worshipful Lord, the cause of all causes, do at Dwaraka? When his clan of the Yadus was condemned to destruction by the curse of the holy men, how did he abandon that glorious earthly form of his, which used to enthrall the senses of all men by its superb excellences? Seeing that unique form, women found it impossible to withdraw their eyes therefrom. Devotees into whose heart it entered through the portals of their ear found it unerasably impressed on their minds. Poets found its beauty stimulating a new glow of inspiration to their words, bringing them worldwide reputation. And seeing that form seated in the chariot of Arjuna as it coursed through the battlefield of Kurukshetra, countless warriors dying in battle attained identity with it. Rishi Shuka answered, taking note of the numerous inauspicious portents that were observed on land, in the sky, and in the intermediary regions, Krishna said as following to the unsuspecting Yadus gathered in the assembly hall known as Sudharma. Bhagavan said, O leaders of the Yadavas, terrible portents indicative of death are seen in Dwaraka. It is not proper for us to stay here even a moment longer. Let women, children, and the elders go to the place known as Shankodhara. We, men folk, will go to Prabhasa, where the river Saraswati flows to the west. Taking purifying baths there and observing fasts, we shall with concentrated minds adore the Devatas with ceremonial baths, unguents, and other ingredients of worship. We shall seek the blessings of many holy people, making presentation to them of cloth, money, land, cows, elephants, horses, chariots, and houses. By observing this commandment, dangers are averted and the all-around welfare secured. The worship of the divinities, holy people, and cows brings good to living beings. All the elders of the Yadavas agreed to this proposal of Krishna, the destroyer of Madhu. They crossed the ocean in boats and traveled to Prabhasa in their chariots. There the Yadavas performed with great devotion all the holy rites mentioned by the Lord and many more. Afterwards, deprived of discrimination by a stroke of destiny, as it were, they took heavy doses of a heady, sweet wine called Maireyakam. A fierce quarrel soon arose amongst those proud and haughty Yadava heroes under the influence of this powerful drink, augmented by the deluding effect of Krishna's resolve. Excited by anger and intent on killing one another, they fought with weapons like bows and arrows, swords and maces, spears and javelins. With the banners of chariots, cavalry, and infantry fluttering, and seated on various kinds of mounts like camels, donkeys, bulls, buffaloes, and horses, they confronted one another and caused mutual destruction as elephants do in the forests with their tusks. In that bitter conflict, they clashed with one another in duels. Pradyumna with Samba, Akrura with Bhoja, Aniruddha with Satyaki, Subhadra with Sangramajit, the fierce Gada with his namesake Gada, Sumitra with Suratha. Under the delusion caused by the Lord, other intoxicated heroes like Nishata, Ulmukha, Sahasrajit, Shatajit, and Bhanu fought amongst themselves. The various clans of Yadus, Dasharhas, Vrishnis, Andakas, Bhojas, Satvatas, Madhus, Arbudas, Mathuras, Surasenas, Visarjanas, Kukuras, Kuntis, etc., all among them, they forgot themselves and their kinship. They fought sons with fathers, brothers with brothers, uncles with nephews, grandfathers with grandsons, friends with friends, and relatives with relatives, and thus themselves killed their own near and dear ones under the delusion caused by the worshipful Lord. When arrows and weapons were exhausted, when all bows were broken, they plucked the iraka reeds with their fists. The reed, as they held it in their hands, became as hard as batons of adamant. They charged one another with it, determined as antagonists. And when Lord Krishna tried to restrain them from the fight, they attacked him too. Considering Balabhadra too to be one of the enemy's sides, they rushed at him with weapons to kill him. Therefore, Krishna and Rama too, pretending to be in an angry mood, moved about the place, killing many with the iraka grass, wielding them like steel bars. Cursed by the holy men and deluded by the Lord's Maya, the flame of anger ignited amongst the Yadavas by mutual antagonism, and this burnt up the entire race as a fire generated by the mutual friction of bamboos consumes a bamboo forest. When his own clan was thus destroyed, the Lord felt satisfied that the residual burden of the earth had also been lightened. Rama now entered into meditation on the Supreme Being, sitting on the seashore, and gave up the human body in that state, uniting his self with the Supreme Self. Seeing Balarama's exit from the worldly scene, the worshipful Lord Shri Krishna sat silently on the ground under a Ashwatha tree. He sat there, assuming his form with 4 arms and illumining all the surroundings with his luster, like a fire without heat or smoke. Sporting the Srivatsa mark, blue like a rain cloud, shining like molten gold on account of his wearing a yellow cloth, highly auspicious to see, having a lotus-like face beautified by a charming smile and lovely eyes, embellished with shining fish-marked ear pendants, girdle, holy thread, diadem, bracelets, armlets, pearl necklaces, anklets, kaustuba jewel, and the encircling floral wreath, and surrounded by his weapons and forms assumed, he sat under the Ashwatha tree, resting his lotus red left leg on the right thigh. A hunter named Jara, into whose hands the residual bit of the steel pestle had fallen, had made an arrowhead out of it. Now this hunter mistook the feet of the Lord to be the face of an animal and shot at him with this fateful arrowhead. Coming near, he found a noble human form with 4 arms. His offense made him tremble with fear, and falling down at the feet of the Lord, he said, "O Lord, thou destroyer of Madhu, my sinful self has done this in utter ignorance. O thou, the eternally pure and the far-famed one for holiness, deign to pardon this sinner. I have done a great offense to thee, O Vishnu, whose very remembrance, great men say, will dispel the darkness of ignorance in men. Therefore, O Lord of Vaikuntha, kill me soon, me, a hunter of animals, so that I may never more do such high-handed acts against great men." Even Brahma, his offspring Rudra, and others, and the rishis who are the masters of the Veda, fail to understand the mystery of thy creation. Veiled as their vision is by thy Maya, how then can a most ignorant and humble hunter understand by himself that thou art subject to the curse of holy men? Bhagavan said, "O Jara, do not entertain any fear. Get up. What you have executed is only due to my resolve. By my will you shall gain heaven, the realm where men who do good works go." Commanded thus by the worshipful Lord Krishna, who had assumed a body of his own will, Jara, after circumambulating him thrice, ascended the divine vehicle that had come to fetch him and attained to heaven. Daruka, the charioteer of the Lord, was now going about in search of him. By the fragrance of the tulasi garland of his, he traced the Lord to the place where he was seated. He saw his Lord and master seated under the Ashwatha tree, surrounded by his luminous weapons. At the sight, Daruka, bathed in overflowing love, jumped out of the chariot in great excitement, fell down at the Lord's feet with tears flowing from his eyes. He said, "Having lost track of thee, I have, O Lord, been like one caught in darkness with eyesight practically lost. Like one in the darkness of night, after the moon is set, I've lost all sense of direction and peace of mind. While the charioteer Daruka was speaking thus, the divine chariot of the Lord, with the emblem of Garuda, horses and flagstaff, rose in the air. The divine weapons of the Lord that had surrounded him in embodied forms also ascended with the chariot. To the charioteer who was now standing wonderstruck on seeing all this, the Lord said, "O charioteer, go to Dwaraka, inform all relatives there about the destruction of the Yadus by mutual conflict, and also of Balarama's demise by yogic process, and my abandonment of the earthly scene. None of you nor our relatives should stay at Dwaraka hereafter. For after my time, that city of the Yadus will be inundated by the sea. All of you with your families and also my parents should go to Indraprastha under the protection of Arjuna. As for yourself, follow the Bhagavata Dharma, be established in knowledge, and abandon all attachment. Knowing the whole universe as an expression of my Maya, remain tranquil and free from all grief. Instructed thus by the Lord, Daruka circumambulated him again and again, prostrated before him, held his feet on his head, and returned sorrowfully to the city. Feel that our Bhagavan Krishna, your Bhagavan Krishna, is established in your heart. The only place he is gone is from in front of your eyes to in your heart.